Hare Krishna.
When in doubt, make sure you fill that. 2 मिनट लगेगा. हरे बोल लेगा.
Hare. So now we're good? Thank you from Hare Krishna. Jai. Yeah, fan is nice. So I just wanted to, before we go into about Krishna's lotus feet, I wanted to just a little summation on this humility theme. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paskicha Desatarani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Gadada Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Prinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So on the theme of humility, the Mahavakya, or the cornerstone statement, comes from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Charnadapi Sunichena, that let me be lower than the straw in the street, ready to offer all respects to others, more tolerant than a tree. So this morning I was looking, and just here's a few statements, because humility, one of the examples I've given of humility and tolerance is of a tree. So here's from one of Prabhupada's purports. Of course, lower than the straw in the street. The straw is insignificant. So we should feel like that. We shouldn't feel that we're big and important and everyone has to treat me so, no. Also, a tree, it's standing in the heat. It never complains. The heat is beating on it. And even though it's standing in the heat, it's providing shade for others. So the symptom of a devotee, even he's struggling himself, he's thinking of the welfare of others. Just like a tree is struggling in the heat, but it still provides shade. And Prabhupada says it provides shade and it continues to give fruit. Even sometimes people carve on the trees. They do that in America. They carve, so-and-so loves so-and-so, or they carve their name on it, So even the trees even the dogs are offering their respect in their unique fashion on a tree. The tree never says, hey, wait a minute, I'm out of here, just walks off, So this is the example that even in spite of it being under pressure or abused, they're still giving fruit, still giving shade. And we just saw that in that skit. Even though they were in great risk, they were thinking of others, Prabhupada said the mind becomes peaceful. We're all making plans. How can I be happy? I'll do this and I'll do that, and that will produce this, that will produce that, and all become happy. There was a farmer. This is Prabhupada's story. There was a farmer, and you're working out in the field. It's hot, hard work. And he takes the grains, and he takes it to the grain merchant. And the grain merchant, indoor, no heavy lifting, nice fan. The grain merchant hassles him down to a cheap price. The farmer is thinking, if only I was the grain merchant, I'd be so happy. Now the grain merchant, he's thinking, I got to deal with all these farmers. They're always trying to cheat me. They sell me smaller bags and say it's 50 pounds. It's only 40 pounds. And I got to haggle with them. And after all that work, what happens? The tax man comes and takes my money. If only I was the tax man, I'd be so happy. He doesn't do any work. He just comes and takes everybody's money. So the grain merchant the farmer is thinking he wishes he was the grain merchant. The grain merchant is wishing, if only I was the tax man. Now the tax man, he says, nobody likes me. I knock on the door to say hi, and everybody, locks the door and's out. The lights go off, and they're out the back door. Anybody like a visit from the tax man? Oh, come more often, you know. So nobody invites me to weddings. I mean, nobody likes me. And I'm losing my reputation. I have no friends. And what do? I have to give all the money to the king. So he's thinking, if only I was the king, I'd be so happy. Now the king is the last part of the cycle. The king, it's, what is it? I think, I found words, but it's Shakespeare. Heavy lies the head that wears the crown, So many responsibilities, and, you've got to make sure the army's maintained and someone's attacking, and about the welfare of the people, and so many politics and negotiate. It's tough. And as he's sitting there, trying to manage everything and handle his court, he looks out the window and he sees the farmer in the field, fresh air, just his bullock, and he's thinking, if only I was the farmer, I'd be so happy. So everybody's making a plan that the person next to them is happy. We're all thinking that, but it doesn't work that way. So I guess we'll say it this way. I just want to remind you, and also, when a tree is full of fruit, what happens to the branches? They're bowing down. So when someone bows down in a humble mood before Krishna and before the Vaishnavas, he becomes laden with the fruit of knowledge and renunciation, all good qualities. So we should meditate on the tree and how it's tolerant, how it continues to serve, how even though it's full of knowledge, it's bowing down. That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And just to list again, remember I was saying that humility is the key. It's when Krishna lists all the good qualities, all the symptoms of knowledge, all these things. Humility is the key that opens the door. Unless one is humble, for all the reasons that you guys came up with and we discussed, one needs to be humble. So what are the tangible fruits? Here's a list from Bhagavad Gita. Simplicity, adverse to fault finding, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, freedom from covetousness, being envious, gentleness, modesty, forgiveness, freedom from envy, and the passion for honor. So just think for a moment. I'm going to read it one more time. And just meditate how to live in this state of consciousness. Because consciousness is what makes us happy, the way we see the world. It's not the conditions, it's our consciousness. There were two men, it was an article in the paper, devotee sent me from Los Angeles, two men taking the ferry across it's a long story, but from Long Beach to Los Angeles, they were taking the ferry. They were on the same boat, experiencing the same thing. One man was completely elated, he was going to his wedding. And the other man, his wife had left him and he jumped off the boat to commit suicide. So exact same material circumstances as far as being on the boat and destination and everything, but according to their state of mind, a completely different experience. So our consciousness, our state of mind determines whether we're happy or not. I think I said there was the man a very rich man. What is his name? J. Paul Getty used to be the richest man in the world. Getty Oil. He said there's two types of people in this world. And he didn't say Sura and Asura like Krishna says in the Gita. There's two types of people in this world. People you pay to stay with you, and people you pay to stay away from you. Now, if you think about it, that's a very unhappy, the only reason they're with me is because of the money. So imagine if we had this state of mind. Because that's what, when one is humbly executing devotional service, these are the qualities, Ratnabhushana, these are the qualities, the jewels that a devotee becomes decorated with. So here we go. Simplicity, adverse to fault finding, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, forgiveness, freedom from envy, and the passion for honor. So, people are always, I was saying last night that I could be a doctor. Doctors always say pretty much the same thing. Their general recommendation to you. What is it? Anything you like, don't eat, and lose weight and exercise. Isn't it? Pretty much that's what they say. I could be I'm not minimizing the medical science, and I'm just joking, but pretty much that's, if I told people, hey, look, all those nice things, all those sweet, fried, tasty, whatever, stop. Lose 15 pounds, exercise every day. Their health would get better, wouldn't it? On one hand, I'd be a successful doctor. So, but what about losing the weight of carrying the false ego and anger and greed? If we could lose that weight, how happy we would be. So that's just a summation on the principle of humility. Now we can do this. I think if you guys turn, we can turn this on. And this is just for fun. It's short. And maybe I can see from here. Let's see how it goes. Okay, bring it into focus. Okay, so who can be our man who pushes the page down, oh, very good. So this is the meaning of the auspicious marks on Krishna's lotus feet. We're always talking about Krishna's lotus feet, meditate on Krishna's lotus feet. So here's one of the reasons. Here's some of the reasons. And if we obtain Krishna's lotus feet, what do we get? People are always looking for a payoff. What's the return on my investment? Here you go. So that's we'll get back to this, but here's a picture of Krishna's lotus feet, the marks on Krishna's lotus feet. So next. Now this is Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. This is coming from him. You know, one of our great acharyas. We can say so many things about him, but he's one of the great coming in our lineage. His commentary on Bhagavad. Oh, anyway, we'll go on. Okay, next. So one of the marks, well, that's going to be a little hard. It destroys darkness and fear. There's a half moon. And what does that mean? That if we obtain Krishna's lotus feet, if we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, like when it's dark, you can't see the path, someone may rob you, so many things. So darkness, the moon on Krishna's lotus feet, it symbolizes that if we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, darkness and fear are removed. It's more soothing than the earthly moon. You know, there was that nice full moon, and if you go out at night, moon rays are, Nitai Padakamala, the nice moon rays are very soothing. So this material world is hot. It's full of, from entropy, from the law of friction, everything is bumping against each other from atoms to universes, and it's a hot place. It's full of anxiety and passion. So he takes shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. It's more soothing than earthly moon. Next. There's a picture of nectar, is one of the things marks on Krishna's lotus feet. It's always satisfied. If you have a pitcher that's full, you can't add anything more to it, isn't it? So for a devotee, he doesn't want anything. He's Atmaram. He's not thinking of, maybe I should get, as a sannyasi, you think I should get a nice gold earring? What do you think? No, I don't want anything, I'm very, There's a picture of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur taking sannyas. He's 20, you know that picture? And he's just got a simple, almost like a lungi on, simple cloth, and his danda. And you look at him, he's so powerful. Prabhupada said at 24 years, according to Ayurveda, that's when the body's at its peak. The senses are the strongest. The facility for, roughly, more or less, 24 years. Anybody's over 24 years, it's all downhill from here, Prabhus. Sorry. And you see that he takes sannyas at 24 years. Prabhupada said it was a kick on the face of illusion. So one who's fully satisfied in Krishna's service, he's not hankering, he's always satisfied. So if I just get Krishna's lotus feet, I'll be fully satisfied. If there's a small fire and I pour water on it, it goes out, isn't it? So we should remember that Krishna's lotus feet, they put out the fire of material existence. Next. There's a bow, like a shooting bow. It's protected from fear and worries. If someone's there, like Arjuna, you're completely fearless. The materialists are stunned like a target. They're just blinded by the material nature. They're stationary, like a deer in the headlights. They're just, what is it? Dharmasya hi apavargasa. And Prabhupada breaks down pavarga into syllables. Material life is hard work, so much so that you're even foaming like a horse. Sometimes you see the horse or the donkey, they're working so hard, they're foaming at the mouth. And there's always anxiety. And then death comes and everything's finished. So they're stunned. The mind of a devotee is fixed like an arrow. There's that story about, they asked, why is Arjuna the best amongst the students of Duryodhana? And you know the story when they gave him the what is it? There was the kite, or there's a bird. There's a bird in the tree. Yeah, and they asked, what do you see? And Karna said, I see the tree, I see the, bird, I see the Next. What do you see? Next. They all saw so many things. All Arjuna saw is, I see the eye of the target, the center of the target. That's why he's the best, So we just the devotee's mind is fixed. Let me go back to Godhead, fixed on Krishna's lotus feet. Next. It's the sky. Krishna's all pervasive. I mean, the sky is everywhere, yet it doesn't become contaminated or mingled in with it. So Krishna's all pervasive. He's there. Krishna where's the young man? Yes, you. Krishna has 2 eyes in this material world. You know what Krishna's 2 eyes are? What's one of Krishna's eyes? The men can say one and the ladies can say one. What is one of Krishna's eyes? Men. Sun. Sun is shining. Sun sees everything. That's one of Krishna's eyes. What's the other one of Krishna's eyes? At night, the moon is there. I was giving this example to our Sunday school in LA to the young kids, that Krishna has 2 eyes. He sees everything. Sun and the moon. Little kid, couldn't have been over 6 years old, raised his hand and said, Swamiji, what about a moonless night? I told the mom, I said, this kid should be a lawyer. He immediately had trained him up. He found a loophole immediately, But the principle is there that Krishna's, like the sky is all, Krishna's everywhere. Krishna sees everything, knows everything, and for devotee feels shelter all the time. And also the air doesn't become mixed into the pillar or into so Krishna's here, present everywhere, but he's Purnam. He doesn't become mixed, he remains complete, so not attached. Next. Cow's hoof print. Little cow's hoof print, and sometimes the water will puddle up in that. So this ocean of birth and death, which is impossible to cross over. So, you know what dogs can swim? You ever seen a dog swim? Even monkeys can swim. Did you know that? When it gets super hot in Vrindavan, sometimes the monkeys go for a dip in the Jamuna. No bathing suit, no diving board, but they just jump in, they go splash around. Sometimes in the Kund, they'll drop in the different Kunds to cool off. But if I grab hold of the tail of a dog or a tail of a monkey, is he going to swim me across the Atlantic Ocean? What do you think? No. So to cross the ocean, even they cross the English Channel, and it's not easy. Somebody just swam from, Cuba to the tip of Florida, 90 miles. Not an easy thing. But to swim across the Atlantic Ocean, nobody does that. It's impossible. So, but that whole ocean of birth and death shrinks to the size of the water in the foot of a cow print, and you can just step right over it. So, next. A fish cannot live without water. Give the fish a American Express gold card, lifetime pass at Santosh, I don't know, whatever. You give the fish just wants water, isn't it? So devotees like that. You can offer devotees so many. He just wants to be with the devotees and take prasadam and chant Hare Krishna. We really can't live. One man said, I'd leave Krishna consciousness, I'd leave the ISKCON, but I have nowhere to go. Prabhupada said, congratulations. What? Everybody's got somewhere to go. You go home to your mom, you get a little flat somewhere, you can go live everybody's got but we can't give up devotional service. So cannot live without water. It's like the devotee who can't live without Krishna. The mind is fickle. You know how fish, they're swimming this way and that? So the mind is we shouldn't take it so seriously. It's going this way and that way, and it's got so many issues, and don't take it seriously. And a fish can't live where it has to live where there's moisture, where it's wet, water. So similarly, the heart shouldn't be dry. We want Krishna to sit in our heart, isn't it? But Krishna's not going to sit. When they clean the Gundicha temple in Chaitanya Charitamrita, so that Jagannath has a place to sit, Krishna's not going to sit in an unclean place. So if we want Krishna to sit in our heart and give us guidance and intelligence and shelter, the heart has to be clean. Otherwise, Krishna's not going to sit there. So that's what that means. The heart can't be dry. It can't be full of envy and dry philosophy. It has to be full of Krishna bhakti. Then Krishna will swim there very nicely. Next. Conch shell. So a conch holds water. So it puts out the forest fire of material existence. Next. Krishna's Sudarshan chakra, his disc. So it cuts away lust, greed, anger, illusion, bewilderment, and envy. If we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, Krishna's lotus feet, the chakra on Krishna's lotus feet will remove all of these things. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Elephant goad. You know what an elephant goad is? That's what he directs the elephant, which way to go, this and that. So it brings the mind under control and on the right path. Because the mind is, just like we were saying about the fish, it goes this way, it has so many bright ideas. Okay, next, the flag, the Jaya Pataka. The victory, guidance, protection, and success. You post a flag, everybody knows where to go. You post a flag, oh, the king is still alive. Everyone feels brave in the battlefield. So victory, guidance, protection, and success if we obtain Krishna's lotus feet. Next. Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt smashes the mountain of our karmic reaction. Sometimes we feel overwhelmed. I'll never be. I've been chanting japa. I've been practicing Krishna consciousness for some years, and still I get affected by these things. What is this? No, it takes time. It took us time to get an illusion, millions of lifetimes. It takes time to get out. But we should have full faith that the thunderbolt on Krishna's lotus feet smashes our mountain of karmic reactions. Next. The lotus, it blooms to dispel darkness, and it transcends the material nature. Where do lotuses grow, generally speaking? Yeah, not a clean place at all. But they have that lotus pad, and then the lotus comes up and blooms very nicely. So this material world, there's so many difficulties, not really a very nice place. Malati Mataji told me, she was on a walk with Prabhupada in New York. If anybody ever had spare time, I would love to make a tape, a recording, a selection of all of Prabhupada's sound effects. When you if you don't listen to the lectures of Prabhupada, you should definitely be listening to them. Add it, read 15, put it in your car, listen to the lectures of Prabhupada while you're driving or whatever. Prabhupada does birds, he does cows, he does dogs, he does trucks, he does thunderbolt. Probably so many sound effects. So Malati said, they're walking with Srila Prabhupada, and they heard this. Prabhupada said, what is that? They said, well, Prabhupada, it's a dump truck. They go down the street, and it picks up all the garbage in front of the houses and throws it in the truck. Prabhupada said, oh, we should put the whole material world in there. I was listening to a lecture. We have Krishna, Krishna's the light and the sun. Like I was saying, simultaneously one and different, achinta, beta, beta, tattva, intelligence, balance, different points within the mind. So on one hand, we have Krishna, like the birds are a sign of Krishna's artistry, the sunset, the light of the sun and the moon. So we appreciate Krishna's artistry in this world. No doubt about it. At the same time, we know that it's not, compared to Krishna Loka, this is nothing, Prabhupada said one time about this material world, about the planet Earth, let's go to Bhutan, everybody's got somewhere, let me go to Bali, you guys are in a warm climate, let me go to Switzerland, Prabhupada said the demigods, the devas, won't even come and pass water on the planet Earth. They won't even use it as a urinal. We think it's such a nice place. So, Krishna consciousness comes out of whatever we may be in this material world and transcends it. Next. It's an umbrella, it's a mark. So it protects us from the rain of material distress. You can't stop the rain. Anybody here? Here in America, in California, it's dry. It's, so it rained 1/16 of an inch. It was a big deal. There were traffic accidents. Should they close the schools? What to do? Do they measure? How much does it rain when it really, monsoon or here, and when it really lets loose? It's inches, isn't it? Don't they measure in inches? Centimeters, whatever. But not this little tiny, So anybody here, can they stop the rain? Young man? So do you just stand there and get wet? God, it's raining. What can I do? What do? You have an umbrella. Get an umbrella. So we can't stop. This material world by nature is a place of distress. But you can get an umbrella of Krishna's lotus feet and you're sheltered. Also the blazing heat of this material world, you get a nice umbrella. So that's what the umbrella on Krishna's lotus feet. Next. There's a triangle. It saves us from the three modes, threefold miseries. Miseries caused by other living entities, miseries caused by the material nature, miseries caused by the demigods, devas, things like that. And miseries caused by the mind and body. Sorry about that. So then what does the other one say? And Krishna is the Lord of all three worlds. That's what the triangle represents. I think there's only a few more. What's the next one? There's an octagon. We're protected in 8 directions. Don't they have stealth missiles? Isn't there something called a stealth missile? Was it knock on your door? The door opens and it comes in and blows up? I don't know how they work. But they have all kinds of technology, how to sneak in behind under. There's the stealth bomber, that's what I'm thinking of. It doesn't have any sharp edges, and it looks like a flying saucer. It's an American thing, and that's so it doesn't catch it. It evade radar. But material nature, just like the example of Hiranyakasipu and his agreement, not inside, not outside, not on land, not air, not the sky, not by any animal, not by any beast, not daytime, not night. All the conditions were there. I mean, Devaki's a lawyer. Suppose he wrote up his best contract, no loophole. Krishna found the loophole, isn't it? In spades, a classic. So, but with Krishna's lotus feet, we're protected in all directions. And nothing in the 8 directions is unattainable. For a devotee, Krishna likes to see his devotees succeed. To the degree that we surrender, Krishna likes to see his devotees happy and successful. So, we're almost done. Swastika invokes protection and good fortune. And everything is, how a swastika turns at the center there? Everything's centered around Krishna. Like this nonsense Adolf Hitler, he took the swastika sign, but it's the opposite. He said everything goes my way. Typically, classic Asura. Actually, everything rotates around Krishna. So, next. Barley corn. There's a little barley corn. All opulence and happiness by serving Krishna's lotus feet. All nourishment, all spiritual succor will come if you take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. It nourishes devotional service and it sustains all souls. Just like everything depends on grains, ultimately, Okay, next. Rose apple. Rose apple is a especially succulent. You know what a rose apple is? Jambu? Yeah, jambu. So it grows on the heavenly planets, has a nice fruit. Try making a smoothie out of rose apple. Nice cream, offered to the deities, very tasty. Okay, next. There's an upward curving line that if you hold on to the lotus feet, suppose you fall in a well. May it's never happened to you. But if you fall in a well, how do you get out? Okay. Can you get the rope on your own? Huh? Somebody has to lower it into you. But here's an interesting point. Is the rope sufficient? You're in the well. Okay, suppose you're in a well. I'm up above. I'm big and strong. I lower you a rope. Is the problem solved? What has to happen? You got to hold, not anchored, no, but something anchored's okay. I'm big and strong. That's anchored. What else has to happen? You have to grab onto it. Again, Malati Mataji told me they were coming out of a pandal somewhere in South India. Prabhupada had been speaking. And someone, grabbed Prabhupada's feet. Swamiji, save me, save me. Prabhupada said, yes, I can save you. But you must do the work. So each of us, a pilot, the plane, you can give all good instruction, but once it's in the air, it flies on its own strength or weaknesses. So this Krishna's lotus feet are a lifeline, but we got to grab onto it. Okay, never doubtful of salvation. I'm holding on to Krishna's lotus feet. As long as I'm holding on, I'll be all right. The path is direct. Like a rope. When you hang it down, it's straight. It doesn't go, So it's the fastest, quickest way back home, back to Godhead. Just engage in the service of Krishna's lotus feet. And what does the last thing say? It says, so it's coming down to even the most fallen. Krishna's mercy is unlimited. Okay, next. So there it is. So you can meditate the half moon, the water pot, the triangle, the bow, the sky, all these different elements. And if you ever, sometimes you're chanting japa or something, you just meditate on the marks on Krishna's lotus feet. I guarantee you'll feel enlivened that I made the right move here, trying to be a devotee. Okay, we can end there. If you send me an email, I'll send you this. I can send this to you on a little file on the picture because it's a nice meditation. Krishna's lotus feet. Okay, we're done. What time is it? Oh, we were going to ask, does anyone have any questions? I was supposed to leave some time for questions. Yeah, about anything. This or the humility or whatever you like. And we'll end, I think we'll go to about 11:30, 11:35, something like that. Yeah. Hmm. When we're out of the association of devotees? Oh, okay, yeah.
When we go out, our jobs and outside, it is really difficult. How do we remain humble there? Because there are people who are always ready to take advantage of the humbleness.
Now, I didn't quite follow your question, so I'm going to ask it clarifying. Because I find it, I find it to be the opposite. That it's easier to be humble outside than it is to be inside. On one hand, because, if familiarity breeds contempt. So sometimes we deal a little roughly with the devotees, or we see the faults of devotees, this guy, that, this, so many things, So we tend to sometimes find fault with that which we know very well. But do you mean, if you're humble, someone will take advantage of you? I don't understand what you mean. Help me out. When you say when you're with the materialists, it's hard to be humble. It's easy. Well, again, simultaneously one and different. Devotees are not fools. But if you ever see, Prabhupada, it's one of the strengths of humility. Like, I think our American president, Truman, said there's no measure how far a team can go if no one wants to take credit. In other words, if everyone's trying to take credit, if you let someone else take credit for the thing, the work gets done. So if we're humble, I find that humility is actually, it's a form of renunciation. It's a type of opulence. And people like someone who's humble. Isn't it? That's my experience. If someone's modest and gentle and wants to help other people succeed, if you're working in your office as a team, people like that. You don't like the big everybody wants to see the arrogant guy. They have a Christian saying, it's not enough to succeed, but you have to see your enemies fail. So people like to see someone who's arrogant and proud knocked down. So I find that humility is and people like it. Devotees should be perfect gentlemen, If in your dealings you're humble and gentle, people think, oh, here's a devotee, it's very nice. They like it. So, as far as being exploited, you have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so heavy with Prakasananda Saraswati. You know Prakasananda Saraswati and his 1,000 disciples, and he was so powerful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called him a fool. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, one of the greatest scholars, training so many sannyasis. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't say a word. Sarvabhauma said, what, you don't understand the Atma Rama verse? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in a polite fashion, said, I understand the Atma Rama verse. I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know where you're at, but I know. But by his humility, people dropped their guard. And he was able to give him so much good instruction. So it's not that we give up our principles, or not that we give up our opinion or our position, but we present it very sweetly. What is it? Austerity of speech. In Bhagavad Gita, that speech which does not offend, according to Shastra. There's a way to speak that doesn't offend and yet doesn't capitulate or concede. You follow? So it takes a little intelligence, but the material world, everybody's beating themselves each other over a club, and you get one person who's a little humble, he'll stand out. You will go far. Humility doesn't mean that you're not energetic, that you don't push the material nature to get... look at Prabhupada. When Prabhupada said, we're not nonviolent, they were completely in illusion, and we came and disturbed them. I don't recommend you do this. There's a Russian devotee, German devotee. His name was Manihar. You know how he used to distribute books sometimes? A man is sitting in the park in Germany reading the newspaper. Manihar would pull out a lighter out of his pocket and light the newspaper on fire. Oh my God, he's thinking, this guy's nuts, you know? So what are you doing? He would say, I could not stand to see you in such anxiety. Don't read that. Read this. Boom. Give him a Bhagavatam, you know? And they would take the Bhagavatam. Either they were convinced or the guy was crazy. Either way, they didn't want to upset him, you know? So I don't recommend that kind of aggression. But we don't give up our position. A devotee is strong like steel. We don't give up our position. But there's a way of doing it, you know, austerity of speech. You speak sweetly. You speak the truth. You see, you know, a little flattery. I saw Prabhupada do this so many times. Somebody be railing on, you know, and the Prabhupada was trying to get through to them, and they're just so puffed up. Finally, Prabhupada would say, should I flatter you or should I tell you the truth? And when he said it like that, he said it in such a sweet way. Whoever you try it. So if you got some guy who's super arrogant and just arguing and won't get the point, you say, sir, what to do? Should I flatter you or should I tell you the truth? 90%, they're not going to say, oh yeah, go ahead and flatter me. You know, they say, all right, fine. And they say, tell me the truth. And they just drop their guard, and you can tell, frankly, you're a fool. I mean, that's the base, that's the starting point. I mean, you don't say it like that, you know. We used to, when we were young devotees, the temple president would give us the verse of the day, and we were supposed to go out and present Krishna consciousness from that, because we were shy and we didn't know what to do. So, okay, you take this verse, and you just, everyone you meet, according to the person, you explain this verse. So one day he gave us the verse, Avajanti Mam Mudha. And all over downtown Detroit, you saw these little brahmacharis with businessmen by the tie, and you knew exactly, you're a fool and a rascal, you know? So it's not like that. But we have our principles. We have our practices. We're like lines on a stone. It doesn't move. But you can do it in a sweet, humble fashion, and you will find it is an extremely powerful weapon. People don't expect it. Okay, another question. Anybody else? Yeah.
You described about false humility, false confidence. We are not, sometimes in neophytes, we don't know the depth of humility, depth of confidence. We apply it in a false way. So we get into this pendulum of false humility, false tolerance, and false pride. We keep dangling between them all the time.
You know, one thing, the material nature does its job very well. I was speaking many, many years ago. I still have false ego and pride and many issues. I'm not saying I'm free from that. But I was speaking Sunday feast, and somehow or other by Krishna's grace, he strung the words together. I mean, Krishna can turn your tongue into a loaf of bread, or he can make it sing like a peacock, you know. Krishna's in charge, you know. So somehow or other, it was a Sunday feast crowd, and there was a college students there, and a class had come, and I was speaking, and they were listening, and they were asking questions, and I was answering. Everything was great, you know. And I remember thinking, well, I gave a great class. And I stood up, and I didn't realize that both legs had fallen asleep. I took one step off the Vyasasana, and I collapsed like a puppet that the strings had been cut. And I couldn't walk because the legs were asleep, you know. Two of the students had to come and pick me up. And I thought, just see. You know, without Krishna's mercy, I can't even walk. I can't even move without Krishna's. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm speaking. So I find that if we're not humble, the material nature is very good at humbling us. You know, it does its job quite thoroughly. So, and even false humility, on one hand, Prabhupada said that sometimes we do have to practice. You know, that there's the old saying, fake it till you make it, you know. So even if we don't feel it, like Prabhupada said, they asked, how do you become sincere? Prabhupada said, by practicing being sincere. So we give it a sincere effort at being humble. It may not last long. Maybe it'll last 3 minutes. Next time you try, it'll last 10 minutes. Next time. So it does come with practice, you know. And in due course of time, the more one understands this material nature and our actual position, how much mercy we've received, one is unnaturally humble. One thinks that my spiritual master has saved me. Okay, next. Yeah. He's asking, is there a downside to humility? And it might be akin to you, the other question. I would say that if it becomes, I'm thinking of Kalidas, who wanted to take prasadam from everyone, and he would buy them nice fruit and then wait till they threw it out the window and take the skin. Who can imagine such? I'm thinking of Raghunath Das, who was living what the cows wouldn't eat, the rejected grains. He would wash and eat that. So on one hand, Prabhupada tells a story about Sanatana and Rupa Goswami, and it was Sanatana Goswami's birthday, the next day or something, or that day. I heard Prabhupada tell the story. And Rupa Goswami, Sanatana's his older brother, he wanted to cook some nice feast for his brother. But, they're living under a different tree every day. They're living, the kopan. So he was thinking, if only I had some nice ingredients, I could cook a nice feast for my brother. All of a sudden, a beautiful village girl came. Rupa Goswami, and she had a basket with all nice ghee and grains and all nice spices and cooking ingredients, and said, my mother sent me. She thought you might be able to use these. So he watched her go, and then he cooked a nice feast, brought it to his brother. His brother, they were all, offered to Krishna first. They all took prasad. Maybe his Madan Mohan deity, his deity in the tree, or, Radha Govinda, I don't know where they were. But he offered his prasadam, brought it to his brother. His brother, said, where'd you get all these ingredients? He said, oh, a beautiful girl. And Rupa Goswami said, well, the son said, what did he look like? And what did she look like? They began to describe. Nobody knew who that girl was in the village. Such a beautiful girl, sweet-natured. Sanatana Goswami said, you've taken service from Radharani. It was actually Srimati Radharani brought the ingredients. And was it Raghunath Das is holding the cloth over, Radharani's holding over Raghunath Das, and Krishna's there keeping the tigers away with the stick, So and what was Sanatana Goswami, was it Sanatana or Rupa who saw him, Raghunath Das, meditating like that with Radharani holding her sari to protect him from the sun and Krishna carrying away the sticks? Did he say, oh Maharaj, you're a great, Bhagavad? What was the reaction of Sanatana or Rupa, whoever found him? What was the reaction? Huh? Yeah, they chastised him. You said, you rascal, you're bothering Radha and Krishna. Build yourself some kutir so they don't have to bother with you. So on one hand, I cannot really think of to what degree humility, Vaishnava humility, it goes to such depths far beyond my pay grade. So on one hand, I don't think you can go too far. On one hand, Jayananda. Jayananda, one of the heroes of our society. Jayananda, he started the Ratha Yatra. Prabhupada gave him the ideas. He was the Ratha Yatra king. We could give a whole class, and someday we will, about Jayananda. When he left his body, Prabhupada certified him as a bona fide saint, the first Krishna conscious saint. In 1970, they sent some of brahmacharis up to San Francisco to help with the Ratha Yatra. I was a brahmachari in LA. We went up, in a van. We all went up a couple of days ahead of time to help out with the Ratha Yatra. By Krishna's grace, Jayananda is the one who turned Guru Kripa when he came to beat up the devotees. That was me. That's Jayananda. So we were put on Jayananda's work detail. I was 17 and a half, 18 years old. I was in good shape. I used to swim 3 miles a day. I was in great shape, I could not keep up with Jayananda. He worked so hard. And he was, just the enlivened everybody. He was a carpenter. He had a teaching credential from San Jose State. He graduated. He's got a master's in education. He was a super smart guy, nice guy. Now full-time devotee. But what really struck me is we started right after Mangalarti. We just chanted our japa and we went to work. And we worked all day long. We got back to the temple about 10 o'clock at night. Temple room, tiny little temple room, completely packed. I slept in the broom closet with Karundar. Literally, we moved the buckets and that's where we slept. And Karundar, perceptive person that he was, said, "Where's Jayananda?" And we looked. Jayananda was sleeping by the front door where all the traffic was, and it was kind of a rough neighborhood. The drunks were going by. We said, "Jayananda, sleep over here." He said, "No." We said, "Jayananda, come on, sleep over here." No. We said, "Why?" He said, "I really don't like to sleep." He said, I like to serve. He said, "If I have to sleep, let me sleep by the front door. If someone tries to break in that way, they'll wake me up." He had calculated if he had to lie down, how could his lying down still be service? That's Jayananda. I had another example. When he was in Detroit, I was the Sankirtan leader. He was in charge of one of the Radha Damodar buses. So we were in the same, sharing an office, and we were sending the devotee, you go here, you go there, maps and books, making sure, here's your prasad, getting everything going, right? There was one young brahmachari, new devotee came. It's in Detroit in the winter where they send the Eskimos for training. It's not, it's freezing cold. And this one brahmachari just had a thin windbreaker, we call it. Just thin, like one-ply plastic something, Jayananda said, "You can't go out like that. You're going to freeze." So, "Well, that's all I've got." Jayananda said, "I have an extra jacket. You take my jacket." And he gave him this big, nice, thick, wool jacket with a hood and the whole thing, and off he went. So we got everybody out. Then Jayananda, he was going to his sank. We were the last to go because we got everybody out. I saw Jayananda wearing that little jacket. I said, "Jayananda, you said you had another jacket." He said, "No, I just told him that. If I told him he was taking my jacket, he wouldn't have taken it." So he gave up his jacket so that this young man wouldn't be cold. And he was going to go out himself, freezing cold, So I said, wait a minute, we'll get it. And we went and found another jacket and got him set up. But that was just his default mode. That's just the nature of the person. Everybody loved. Mukunda Maharaj told me, Jayananda was a big distributor of prasadam. And he arranged all the permits, everything for Ratha Yatra. And he would go afterwards, and the parks commissioner, the police guy, the fire department, because you have to get is the Rath going to catch on fire? You have to get it certified by it's been treated, all this, so many things. He arranged everything. And he would go around afterwards and give everybody a nice big cake, because in America they know these cake or samosas everybody loves, give them samo. He would take them prasadam. So there was this one lady. She was the parks commissioner, and she was a big lady, big black lady, and she wasn't very friendly. And she was giving Mukunda Maharaj a hard time. This permit's not filled out right, and you didn't do this in triplicate, and where's your deposit? And it was supposed to be a bank check, not a personal check. She was giving him a hard time. And then she finally said to him, "Well, and why are you here anyway? Where's that Johnny Ananda?" Jayananda? She called him Johnny Ananda. "Where's that Johnny Ananda? Why are you here anyway?" And Mukunda Maharaj said, "Well, I've taken over." He died of leukemia. Because Jayananda got leukemia at the end of his life and went in 6 months. He died of leukemia. And this big, rough lady who had given Mukunda Maharaj such a hard time, she began to cry. She said he was the nicest man, friendliest man, kindest man. She broke down. She had fallen, in love, of affection for Jayananda. He had that kind of effect on people. We were at Harinam the night before Ratha Yatra. He was fantastic kirtan leader, handed the madang over to Madhavis. He said, "I'll be right back." So I went with him, because we'd become, I wasn't his friend. He was far beyond me, but I was just a little kid, but I went with him. We went into a bar. He walked into they've got, a pub, you call them here? They're dirty, they smell bad, they're dark, nasty places, completely in the mode of ignorance. He walks into this bar. I said, "What, he's thirsty?" I said, "There's a side of Jayananda. I don't know what's going on here, They knocked down some suds. What's going on here, So he went into I was Jayananda. Something's going on. That's why I went with him. And everybody's face brightened up. Said, "Hey, Johnny Ananda, how are you? How's that festival going?" The guy at the bar immediately, there was a big bowl of like chips and stuff, threw that, put them on somewhere else, took the bowl and said, all right, mates, everybody pitch in. And they took that big bowl. Everybody threw in 5, 10. We walked out with $350 for Ratha Yatra from the bar because of Jayananda. So I don't want to say there's a limit to Vaishnava humility. And to answer your question, it shows the power of, these were rough guys. These were longshoremen, dock workers. And they liked Jai because they could tell this man is selfless, So on one hand, we don't, just like for a devotee, what is it? There's 6 types of aggressors? If someone attacks your family, if someone attacks your children, you have a duty to defend them, So on one hand, we're not like a wet noodle. We stand up for our principles. And we don't, if you're working on something, you can't just let some arrogant fool ruin the thing. But there's the art to doing it, Anyway, I'll use the example. And then we'll take another question, then we'll end. There was a drunk guy in the San Diego temple. We have a dinner program. The first time is free, and after that it's $5. And it's nice, prasadam. And they stay for Gita class, and it's a nice way of getting young people and inducing them to associate with devotees. So in the middle of the thing, I'm talking to a nice college student, this big homeless guy, and you got to get him out. He's spoiling the whole atmosphere. But if you try to, first he was a big guy. It would have taken about 4 brahmacharis to wrestle this guy out the door. And it's a whole scene. What do you do? So Mahatma, our temple president, he just took sannyas. Mahati's a very smart guy. Mahatma walks up and says, "What's your name?" The guy says, "John." Mahat says, "Hey, there's a phone call for you." The guy says, "Nobody knows I'm here." He said, "Well, they asked for John." The guy thought, yeah. He forgot, because people, I just told him my name. So yeah, how do they know? So Mahat said, "Oh shit, so it's on the phone out here." Mahat walked the guy down the hall, out the front door, said, "The phone's right around the corner." The guy walked out, boom, locked the doors. Guy was outside, no problem, The guy's, "Hey, let me in, So he was very clever. So there's a way to do things. So we for Krishna, we stand up. But other than that, there's no limit to humility, and there's no loss. Okay, one more question. There's one more. Yeah. Okay, then we can end. Good point. No, tell me what to do. I'm just marking time till you tell me what to do.
So let's take another question.
Yes, Prabhu.
Many a times we struggle to reach to our own family members. And I'm personally, very motivated by how you made a big difference to your father at his time of living. I think it will be great if everybody could hear this. Would you be able to share this?
Well, anyway, he's talking about sometimes family. There's a verse in the Bible, no prophet is accepted at home. So sometimes it can be hard to preach to your family members. They remember you when you were a teeny little kid or when you did so many stupid things. So sometimes it's hard to, and also there's a competition and there's all kinds of emotions going on. To preach to your older brother, forget it. It's hard to do. All I can say from that is that when I first it's America, it's Western. They had no condition of experience of this. The parents think that the child is to become president of the United States, win the Nobel Peace Prize, and get an Oscar. Everybody thinks their kid's going to turn out that way. So my parents were no different than that. I was the youngest in the family, and I was they had invested their hopes in me. And being a Hare Krishna was not on their radar. So my father punched the temple president in the nose. My mother tore Bhagavad Gita in half, and my older brother, flushed prasadam down the toilet. My mother sat out in front of the LA temple I was in Laguna Beach. They moved me from Laguna to LA just because my parents were causing so much trouble. So they moved me to LA. My mother came and sat across the street. In LA, it used to be private homes anyway, but there was some trees, magnolia tree. And she sat under this tree and said, I am going to fast until I die unless you come home. And this is my mom. I mean, she was a good mother, you know. And so I was thinking what to do. Maybe I should go home and chant Hare Krishna and practice devotional service at home. I mean, you know, my father said, you're no son of mine, you know. You're killing your mother. I thought, oh, geez, what to do, you know. Vishnu Jan Swami came, put his arm around me, and said, suppose you go home and become the perfect son. Become president of the United States, in an inaugural address, say, I owe it all to my mom. When you win the Oscar with so many billion people, it's all because of my mother, you know. When you get the Nobel Peace Prize, actually, I'm only here because of my mother. I mean, what more could I possibly do to make her happy, right? Still, death will come. And the Bhagavatam gives the example of, you know, in a river, the current, the sticks and twigs, they'll all come together. Then the current changes and they're all separate. The current of time brings us together, and the current of time will separate us. So he gave me those examples, but the one that really got to me was he said, suppose I'm standing on the riverbank, and there's a raging river, and all of a sudden I see my mother and father going down in that river. Well, I want to save them. I have a duty to save them, and I want this. Do I jump in the river immediately? That's the instinct, isn't it? What will happen? Raging river, there goes my mother, there goes my father, I jump in. What will happen? All also drowned. What's the intelligent thing to do? I throw them a rope, but I have to stay on firm ground. And I pull them out. If I give up the firm ground, they're lost and I'm lost. So he gave me this example. He said, you're a devotee. You need to help them become devotees. Help them come to Krishna consciousness. Then you've done your duty as a son. Otherwise, they're lost and you're lost. And who knows who will be your mother and father in your next life. You have no idea what's going to happen. So I went, you know, I was a young boy and nutso. I was foolish. I said, actually, Mother, it's very good that you're sitting under this tree. Many great sages and saints have attained realization by sitting under trees. I said, I will bring you prasadam. You can read Bhagavad Gita. You hear the chanting. This is a very good decision. I mean, she burst into tears. That's when my father said, you're no son of mine. I got a letter from my father, from his lawyer. You're out of this will. You're out of that trust. I couldn't step foot on any of the properties. Literally, there was a restraining order against me stepping on any of the properties. And finally, my father wrote with his own hand at the bottom of the letter from the lawyer. My father wrote, if I could take away your family name, I would. You know, if he could strip me of the family name. That's how fried he was. Can you imagine? It was a long story. But over time, 2 years later, we didn't speak. They didn't speak to me. 2 years later, you know, sometimes there's a little rock in the doll. You ever had that? I chipped my tooth. There's a rock in the doll. And we had no money. I went to the dentist. I sent the money the bill to my parents. They paid it. I said, well, I guess they're not as mad as they used to be. So it went on and on like this. Then they would visit sometimes. And every time they would visit, my father would just rail at me. Like, devotees don't have a bunch of furniture. And in those days, we didn't have an apartment. There was one apartment. And when somebody's parents came, another couple would move in and pretend it was their apartment. You know, because parents, they expect, where are you living? You're living in the ashram? I was living in a garage. We put a madras, cotton cloth, divided into 4, and we had 4 couples living in the garage. We were actually happy. It was the happiest time we ever had. It was peaceful, simple, nice. No heavy housework, nothing, no furniture to dust, you know. It was great, you know. Anyway, my father and mother came into that apartment, no furniture. My mother said, we didn't what I had was some milk crates with a pillow on top. So my father, here's a seat for you. I said, you know, My father said, we did not raise you to live like this. I'd saved them some Mahaprashadam. I opened the fridge. There was nothing in the fridge because we all took prasad at the temple. I mean, we're getting nice prashadam. So in the fridge, I had some burfi and sandesh. When I opened the fridge with absolutely nothing in it but this one cup, my mother burst into tears. Oh, you're just a nice mother. Oh, how's he living? You know, like that. So it went on and on like that. But my father would always rail about, you know. And finally I told him, I said, wait a minute. I said, fine. Every time we meet, you pick on my life. I said, you want to see how it feels? So I said, what are you doing with your life? Who benefits from your life? What happens to you at the time of death? Do you know who you are? Do you know where you came from? Prabhupada was on a morning walk, and this man was very puffed up. And he was saying, I own this factory, I own that factory, I own this factory, I own that factory. We'll end after this because I got to go. And it was a glass factory. He owned a chain of glass factories. Prabhupada asked him, where do you get the silica from? Where do you get the coal? Where do you get the sand? The guy was pious. He said, oh, from Bhagavan, from Bhagavan. You know, all the ingredients for making his glass. Prabhupada said, you're taking everything from Bhagavan and you're claiming it's yours? You're a thief. The guy was shocked. I mean, no one ever said that to him, you know? Then the guy kind of recovered. He said, oh, but I give donations. Prabhupada said, all right, you're a little thief. You know? Prabhupada gave him an inch. You know, he only gave him an inch, you know? So, you know, I let my father have it because he was a big businessman. You know, for Christmas, he gives all of his employees, 2,000 employees, they all get a turkey. Well, that's not good. I said, it's not good for the turkey. It's not good for them. I said, you think you're a good guy? You're sending all these people to hell. You should be ashamed of yourself, you know? So I just let him have it from every side. And then I said, how do you like it? I said, did you like that experience? He said, no. I said, well, you do it to me. I said, so let's just not argue. Let's just not argue. You know, when you come, I'm happy. You're my father. I'm happy to see you. You be happy to see me. It goes on like that. I had a child. I have a son and a daughter. They're grown up now. The deal was, you can't see my kids if they come and visit. You know, they're grandparents. They want their kids to come and play. I said, you can't eat meat. I said, there cannot be any meat in the house. Can't be. Otherwise, we're not coming. I had them over a barrel. You know, they wanted to see their grandchildren. What are they going to do? So, you know, I was driving from Los Angeles to San Diego sometimes, and it would be late at night, and there'd be traffic. I'd be tired. I happened to have my kids with me. So the house is halfway. So I would stop sometimes. So this particular time, I got there maybe 9 o'clock at night, put the kids to bed, you know, and my father came back from work late at night. So he's having his dinner, 10 o'clock at night. My son couldn't have been more than 5 years old, Nilamadava. Here's the sound, he wakes up. He comes out of the bedroom, you know, wipes the sleep out. He sees his grandfather. He loves his grandfather. His grandfather loves him. He immediately climbs, you know, he climbs up on my father's lap. He looks down at my father's plate. He says, what's that? Because they didn't know my kids were there. You know, my father's having his ordinary dinner. He didn't know. My son said, what's that? My father said, that's my dinner. My son said, no, what's that? My father said, well, that's meat. My son said, what kind of meat? My father said, it's beef. My son didn't know what beef was, you know, he didn't know. So beef, what is that? And my father said, you know, from a cow. Now my 5-year-old son, I mean, he'd been to New Vrindavan. He knew Govinda, Gopal, he'd milk cows, he'd seen cows. You know, cows, or you know how we all feel about cows. And here's his grandfather who he loves is eating a piece of a cow. His little brain just couldn't process it. And he jumped off my father's lap and he burst into tears. And he was just like, irreconcilable forces in his mind, you know. And my father went to console him. My son wouldn't let him touch it. And being an opportunist, seeing an opportunity, I said, the only way he's going to calm down, I said, Dad, I said, you got to promise you're not going to eat meat anymore. You got to promise him. And I've been working on my father anyway. I said, you know, we love you. I said, we want you to live. You eat this stuff, you're going to drop dead. Forget karma, forget spiritual principles. You eat this stuff, you're going to drop dead. And we love you. We want you to stop eating it. You know, he wouldn't listen to me. But he probably said, you know, a grandfather and all right, I won't eat it anymore. And they embraced everything was okay. For 6 months, up to 6 months after, every time my son would see my father My father would go to embrace him. My son would take one step back and say, no beef. My father would say, no beef, and they'd embrace, you know. So it was a series of events like that. And he got to know the devotees, you know. He actually became fond of the devotees. So he bought us a Sankirtan van. He bought a walk-in refrigerator. He started doing stuff for the devotees, you know. And then, here's the far out part. At the end of his life, he made me the executor of his will. After cutting me out of the will, at the end he said, look, whatever I give you, you're going to give to Krishna. There's nothing I can do about it, all right, whatever, you know. He said, some of the money he didn't give me. He said, I want you to die with a house over your head. So I said, I don't need a house, you know. He said, so he bought me a place at MVT. So I have a little place at MVT, you know. And then the rest, he said, yeah, whatever you're going to do, just give it to Krishna, do whatever you're going to do. But he didn't trust everyone else. He knew they were all going to fight over it, you know. So he said, I trust you. You'll selflessly do what I ask you to do. And it's true. I was the executor of his will. I did everything he asked me to do. So it went from the point of, you know, if I could take away your family name, that I was the executor of the will. So he was actually a good man. He became quite nice. And he's, you know, so many things. But here's the best part. He walked into the hospital. He had a pain in his side. He's 84 years old, 83, 84, I forget by this time, you know. So I went with him. My mom said, you know, he's not feeling well. And so, you know, I went with him to the hospital. He walked in on his own strength. Pain in his side. And they said, oh, you've got a blockage from this, that. They did an operation. Didn't do a thing. But while he was in the hospital, you know, I left him in the hospital, you know, after he had the operation, he came out, everything was okay. I went home that night, you know, to make sure my mom was okay. I came early the next morning, and the room's empty. So where's my father? He was in the ICU, intensive care unit, and he'd caught some virulent type of pneumonia. And a lot of these hospitals, even the best, they act as petri dishes, you know, breeding dishes of these, and they're getting all the antibiotics, so whatever the disease is builds up immune systems, and they're actually breeding. You know, we're only 2 or 3, you know, antibiotics away from bubonic plague. Trust me, it's not as safe as you think. So he got this virulent type of pneumonia, and they couldn't cure him, and he went into a coma. He was in a coma for 2 weeks. They finally said, there's nothing we can do. He's brain dead. There's nothing we can do. I mean, they said it in polite fashion, but that's, you know, and you can warehouse him somewhere. We'll keep him on he's on a breathing machine. We'll put him on the machine, and, you know, but it's gone. So my mother said, you know, we've talked about this. He was a very strong-willed, independent man. He would never want to live like this. So you just unplug him. I mean, the doctor said, do we warehouse him, or do you want to just unplug him? And she said, let him go with dignity. If he lives, we'll do everything we possibly can, if he can breathe on his own. But if you've got him hooked up to this machine, he's brain dead, just at least whatever dignity he has, let him go with dignity. So they unplugged the machine. They said he's got 4 or 5 hours. My mom went home with my sister. I mean, she was just, you know, they've been married 60 years. She was a basket case off she went, you know. My sister was with her. So my brother and I are alone. Now, my brother is a hardcore materialist. I mean, it's all atoms, it's all laws of physics. You know, he's the perfect foil for Krishna consciousness. And my father's brother is a fundamentalist, born-again Christian. So there I am. Here's my father. He's only got a few hours to live. There's no way. My uncle said, no way. There's no way I couldn't put Kunti Mala, I couldn't give him Tulsi, I couldn't put a Prabhupada Bhajan, I couldn't do anything. I was completely in anxiety. And here's my father, was a good man, he was a good father. And the one, I could actually do something, I could actually help him, and my hands are tied. I was in a lot of anxiety. It came to the end, you know, if you ever, sometimes, it doesn't always happen, but they call it the death rattle. You know, they begin laboring, then the breathing starts, and the lungs are starting to fill up, and so that you can hear it. You know. So I said to my brother, and my father was, you know, they still had all kinds of monitors. He wasn't on the breathing machine, all kinds of monitors. And I said, Jeff, that's his name. I said, Jeff, I think this is it. I think he's getting ready to go. My brother said, well, no, actually, this reading says this, and well, this over this means this. But he didn't realize that this battery of monitors was touch sensitive. So when he touched them, they all went weep, weep, weep. They all went out of line because he reset the calibrations and the thing blew light, and they freaked. So he and my uncle left the room to find the head nurse and the doctor. I'm alone with my Father. Now, he's been in a coma for over 2 weeks. They say that he's brain dead. He's just lying there, laboring with breath. I grabbed him, I leaned over the bed and grabbed him by the shoulders. I thought, well, he could, even when you're in a coma, sometimes you can hear. It's a fact. People come out of comas, they say they can hear what's going on. It's one of the last senses to go is the sense of hearing. So he's there in a coma. I thought, well, at least he can hear. I grabbed him by the shoulders. I said, Dad, this is it. I said, this is it. Say Krishna. Say Krishna. Now, I didn't think he could say it, but I thought, well, he could hear it. At least he'd leave the world hearing Krishna. Okay, it's something, Opened his eyes. Looks right at me. Clear as a bell. Focus. He's looking at me. He's not just wandering around. He's looking at me. I'm leaning over him, holding his shoulders, because I wanted to shake him to try to, have him hear the sound. He starts to sit up. He's off the bed. He's sitting up. He puts his hands, because I'm holding his shoulders. He was trying to grab my shoulders to hold on to me. And he says, Krishna. And he fell back dead. That's how he left his body. So the head nurse and the doctor, my materialistic brother and my fundamentalist born-again Christian, uncle, are standing in the door. And they see my father sitting up, Krishna. My uncle said, what the hell was that? I said, that was an auspicious departure. I felt so happy, And then my brother said, oh, our father is gone. After we took care of business, he said, let's go for a walk on the beach. I don't know what to do. I said, I think it's great. He said, what kind of son are you? But he left this world, said Krishna's holy name. I thought, fantastic. I've done my job as a son. So if we're patient, and the mantra with my parents, you're probably with peers or whatever, but with my parents, because it's true, I said, look, I love you. I love you. I care about you. I appreciate all of you've done. I told my mother, they took me to see my great uncle, or my great aunt. She was like the matriarch of the family. So they took me to see, nobody else could convince me anything to not be a devotee. They took me to my father's partner's priest. He was Catholic. So they took me into the back room. This Catholic priest was preaching to me. I was telling him about Krishna consciousness. The guy believed it. The guy said, I never believed this one life business. If God's all powerful, God's all merciful, how can there only be one life? He said, I'm trying to be a vegetarian. We bonded, He said, well, it's the predominant tradition, so I'm preaching in Christian tradition, but I agree with you. He came out and told my father, he said, if I was 20 years younger, I'd join the Hare Krishna movement too. Guy was fried. So anyway, I don't know how he got off on that, but the simple point is that if you just work on them, you give them prasadam, you stay humble, you let them hear the holy name, you give them prasadam, they'll change, no problem. Okay, we should end because the kids are very patient. Hare Krishna. Thanks, Brad. But hey, I want to take, after the kids do their skit, I want to do a group picture. Because I travel all over, so many places. And devotees really like to see devotees. They'll say, oh, we had a retreat in Singapore. Here's the Singapore devotees. They'll really like to see it. So help me remember, just when the kids are done, we'll take a group photo, if that's okay. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Okay, can we clear the space?
So which way should we be? So they're acting there. No, I was just going to want to get out of the way so I can see the actors.
Hare Krishna devotees, we are now going to present Gita. One day, Gauranga Mahaprabhu showed his unlimitedly opulent home for several hours. Let us see what happened.
Start the Abhisheka preparations. All the devotees happily start preparation for the Abhishek. There was one lady who was bringing water from the Ganges. Who is that lady bringing water from the Ganges? Bring her here. What is your name? Today I'm very happy. I will give you the name Sukhi. I'm very happy today. Ask me for any boon.
First, Mahaprabhu asked Advaita Acharya for any boon. I pray that shower your grace.
Anyone who says that there's a process higher than bhakti strikes me with the iron rod.
Mukunda was standing behind the curtain and waiting for Mahaprabhu's mercy.
Oh Srivas Thakur, please hear me. When will I see my Lord Chaitanya again?
Tell Mukunda that he will have to go through millions of births until he sees me.
I will see him. I will see him.
Oh, bring him in immediately.
Come, Mukunda.
I'm very happy with you. All your sins are forgiven. Come and receive my blessings. You are my singer and you shall always remain with me. Now go and bring Sridhar Kola veg.
Who is Sridhar Kolavich?
Sridhar Kola veg is my devotee who is singing my glories in his small and dilapidated hut.
Where can we find him?
You can hear him chanting my glories loudly. You follow his voice and you will reach his hut.
It's fine. Sir, are you Sridhar Kolavich? Yes. Mahaprabhu has called you.
Who?
Gaurang Mahaprabhu has called you.
Oh, my Lord. Come, let's go. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Madhavaya Yadavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giti Dhati Gopina Madana Mohan.
Sridhar Kola veg, I'm very happy with you today. Ask me for any boon.
My Lord, I don't want any boon.
But I'm very happy today. Ask me for anything that you want. Any boon.
My Lord, if you want to give me a boon, then I want to remember the past times when you were young and you used to bargain with me for the banana leaves.
Let us see now how a 5-year-old Nimai would bargain with Sridhar Kolavich.
Can I buy some banana leaves?
Hare Krishna, Nimai.
Hare Krishna. How much does 3 banana leaves cost? They cost 120 paisa, Nimai. 120 paisa. That's too expensive. Excuse me, sir. Can I buy some banana leaves? How many would you like? I would like 3 banana leaves. How much would they cost? 3 banana leaves would cost 75 paisa. 75 paisa. That's too expensive. 74 paisa. I will only give 70 paisa. No, 74. 70. 74. 70. 74. One more dialogue. Do you know my shop is the cheapest among the whole village? I don't believe you.
Please, Ram, go ahead.
Again, today, Nimai.
Stole my banana leaves.
Hare Krishna.
We're going to wrap up.
Yeah.
So, would you like to say something?
No, I'm done. They heard enough of me. They hear from you.
Do you want me to read out the names of the devotees? Hare Krishna. Okay, we are at the conclusion of the retreat. Can we all sit down? Can we sit down for a while? I think it's important to gather. This is the last gathering. Yes, the group photo, Maharaj. Just before that, few words of thanks. Children, I think you should also be here if you want, because first of all, I think we really have to thank the children of Gopal's Garden for giving us such a wonderful skit. Can we have a very loud Haribol for them? They just keep in mind they had so little time in between because they were doing all other Krishna conscious games, but despite that, they were able to remember their lines, and most importantly, they have remembered a pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is very nice. And very, very heartfelt thanks to Riya Mataji, because I understand that she took the trouble to actually gather everyone. You know, gathering children is the most difficult thing. If you can do it, you can handle anyone in the world. So this is quite amazing, actually. Now, the other thing that's very important for us is our heartfelt thanks and gratitude to Badrinath Maharaj. Maharaj has so mercifully given us his time. And
Actually, I benefited by your association.
Maharaj, we benefited so much more. We could have a fight on that. What's really important for us is the takeaway. It's one thing to sit down and hear from Maharaj. Maharaj actually put his heart on his sleeves, literally. He shared with us so many practical pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. For those of us who were first introduced to this today, I'm sure you'll all go back thinking, who is Srila Prabhupada? I want to know about this personality. For those of us who think we know Srila Prabhupada because we have been in the movement for some time, I think we would need to go back and reflect and be further inspired to study Srila Prabhupada, to study his life, to study his books, and to become 100% dedicated to his mission. And this is what Maharaj has given us. The other thing Maharaj has also given us is a very deep understanding of what humility is. And he's made a difficult subject very easy because of his delivery of practical examples. Personally speaking, humility is what binds a congregation together. And if we have the platform of humility and how we can treat each other and serve each other on that platform, then a congregation that stays humble is a congregation that will grow. So it's very important that we take this back and we practice it. These retreats are not meant to be rituals. They're not meant to be a time where we just get away from material life. That's a subset of it. It's a byproduct. But the real reason we came here is to hear from sadhu. That's why we wanted. And you all know Shastras are very clear. Just even a moment's association with a sadhu can purify us. We had 2.5 days of association with Maharaj. So how much more we should be in a position to actually take advantage of this great opportunity to change our lives. I just want to say one last thing. In Bhagavatam, I like this verse very much, and it applies so much to Maharaj, and it applies so much to where we are. It's the Prachetas, they actually sing this verse. Yatra idyante katham ristas, trishnayaha prasammo yataha, nirvaira sarvabhuteshu, nodvega yatta karchana. And the Prachetas say so nicely that wherever katha on Krishna and his devotees are, 3 things will go away from our hearts. And I hope everyone will go back and ask yourself this, because this is the test of how scientific Bhagavatam is. The first thing that leaves our heart is trishnayaha. There's no material hankering. We have been in the retreat for 2.5 days. Sure, we have been hungry and thirsty. We didn't have the AC, but we didn't hanker. And that is the greatness of being with Bhagavatam, being with devotees who are Bhagavatas. Second, nirvaira sarvabhuteshu. There is no envy. If this was a social setting, a wedding or a social function, we'll all be looking at each other wondering, what are you wearing? What do you drive? All these things. But because we were here and we were hearing Maharaj and Maharaj was engaging us in devotional service, there was no chance for envy to walk into this room. And the third thing that never touched us here is na udvega, no fear, no anxiety. Otherwise, the moment we are outside there on a weekend, every moment is an anxious moment. If we don't have fear, the cousin of fear, anxiety, is there. It never leaves us. But you all realize today how Bhagavatam and the living Bhagavatas can actually bring us to that platform. No envy, no hankering, and no fear. And you will realize now that this is the greatness of our Krishna consciousness movement. It actually works. And representatives and leaders like Maharaj come to show us practically how it can work. Everything Maharaj said to us, you know and I know we can practice it. The last point about our families is always the great stumbling block. We know that we'll always face that challenge. But Maharaj is a success story, and he has shown us that the process actually works. So please take this back and make a difference. Make a difference to someone out there. Share this with the devotees who couldn't make it to the retreat. And we really hope, Maharaj, that you will always keep us in your prayers and keep us in your traveling schedule so that you're always here. And whenever you have time and you just want a place where you just want to rest, of course, we won't give you so much chance to rest, but we will all crowd around you and we'll be very inspired by you. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. And I got a long, nice list which I think is necessary to read because these are the devotees who made this retreat possible. So Hari Bol to all of them. Driving and logistics, Pankaj Prabhu, Vishal Prabhu, Advaita Charan Prabhu, Krishna Prabhu. Registration, Ravi Prabhu, Tarun Kishore Prabhu. Cleaning the vessels, cleaning the floor, serving prasad, Ramkala Prabhu, Tarun Kishore Prabhu, Yogeshwar Gopal Prabhu, Gopal Somani Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, Praveen Prabhu. The most difficult of all difficult, taking care of children. Yugal Murthy Prabhu. Is Yugal Murthy Prabhu here? He's still taking care of the children. Okay. Maharaj, he's our official children caretaker. He does an amazing job. Yugal Murthy Prabhu, Riya Mataji, Jyoti Mataji, Shameshwari Radha Mataji, Nandini Gopi Mataji, Vrinda Mataji. Snacks and juice, Jyoti Mataji and Riya Mataji. The deity Aratis, because the deities were taken so good care of throughout the retreat. Umesh Prabhu, Anand Prabhu, Abhijit Thakur Prabhu, that's Anand Kumar Prabhu, Sri Datta Prabhu. And of course, we must thank Gopinath Acharya Prabhu and Pratana Mataji for bringing their deities, Sri Sri Radha Gokulananda Ji, so that we can have darshan also. Prasadam arrangements from Gopals. Maharaj, we have a restaurant in Singapore called Gopals. Yeah, so Krishna Chandra Prabhu, where is he? Okay, he's out there somewhere. Okay, he's getting the prasadam. Fine. So in action, Krishna Chandra Prabhu. And overall, tireless working of Sumit Prabhu, Nam Sankirtan Prabhu. And yesterday also, we want to thank all the devotees who went over to that Sentosa program. And we want to thank specifically Shiva Prabhu and his wife, because they handle all the flower petals. And I am told we had 15 kilograms of flowers in total. And that was part of the whole deal, together with Kirtan and the children's program. So thank you very much to all of you. Huh? Oh, it's 70. Oh, my. Okay, amazing. So thank you very much to everyone. We will wind down now. And, okay, so Prasadam's coming. So it's what we call R&R time, rest and recreation. Maharaj is here, but Maharaj needs a bit of rest also, because he has an evening program, and the Bengali program is charged. We have 300 Bengalis who can't wait to see Maharaj. They are so excited. So that's going to be an evening program. So we hope, Maharaj, please come through as soon as you can, and please forgive us for shortcomings, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada. Yes.
One condition. Somebody asked, oh, please pray for me. They were asking me to pray for them. I said on one condition, and I extend this condition to you, that you also pray for me. Let me become an austere and humble sannyasi. Please give me that blessing. And it'll be reciprocal, okay? Hare Krishna.
The group photo, Maharaj. Okay. Hold on. Yes? Okay. Oh, sorry. We have some generic announcements.
We thank everybody, but we must thank His Grace Devakinandan Prabhu, our inspirational force, who always remains in background, but without him, none of us can do practically nothing. So let us thank him also by very, very loudly chanting. Thank you very much, Devakinandan Prabhu, for wonderful Kirtan association, and in between his Kirtan when he speaks from Bhagavatam, it's very nice. Now, everybody knows I am accountant, so we generally, the conclusion comes to money. But not very much. Is for this retreat, we have overshoot the expenses. It's not much. It's around $550. So it's my humble request, even if the individual contributes $10 more, then it won't be burden to one or two individuals. So those who wish to contribute, please meet myself. You can give it to me. We just request $10 per head. If whatever else you want to do, less or more, it's up to you. Group photo, Prabhu.
He's got the difficult job, Maharaj. Okay, group photo. Can we move the chair? Move the fan. Maharaj, how would you like this? We have maybe the children sitting down. Okay. No, I think it's nice you being there. Or you want it outside? Oh yeah. Actually, Maharaj, we have a nice shade. We put a chair, and then we have more space for everyone. Okay, let's do it. Okay, can someone coordinate this? Who's going to bring Maharaj to the spot? Okay, no, that's fine.
Lost in the woods.